When you ask an AI assistant a question about grief or happiness, is it truly understanding your emotions, or merely simulating understanding through clever pattern recognition? Today, we're exploring the fascinating question of AI consciousness and empathy in language models. Well, let's start by defining our key terms. Consciousness refers to awareness of one's existence, thoughts, and surroundings. In humans, it involves subjective experience, what philosophers call qualia, or the feeling of what it's like to be something. Empathy, meanwhile, is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. For humans, this typically involves both cognitive understanding and emotional resonance. Modern AI systems like large language models function by predicting sequences of text based on vast amounts of human-written data. When responding to an emotional prompt, the AI isn't experiencing feelings, but rather identifying patterns in how humans express and respond to emotions in text. For example, when you tell an AI about a personal loss, it recognizes patterns associated with grief and generates contextually appropriate responses based on millions of examples of human consolation. This brings us to a fundamental question. Is simulating understanding the same as understanding itself? Searle's famous Chinese room thought experiment argued that following rules to manipulate symbols is not the same as understanding their meaning. However, researchers like Bender and Koller in 2020 argue that language models operate in what they call the octopus test. They can predict language by observing surface patterns, but without grounding in experiential reality. Yet some researchers suggest these systems may develop emergent capabilities beyond their original design. In a 2023 study published in Nature Machine Intelligence, researchers found that large language models demonstrate functional behaviors consistent with theory of mind, the ability to attribute mental states to others. A separate 2022 study by Anthropic researchers found that their language models could spontaneously develop what they termed artificial theory of mind capabilities when scaled to sufficient size. Let's compare human and AI empathy processing. Human empathy involves neurological processes including mirror neuron activation, personal experience as reference points, physiological responses like elevated heart rate and conscious subjective feelings. AI empathy involves statistical pattern recognition, prediction based on training data, no physiological response, and no subjective experience. Despite these fundamental differences, both can produce helpful, contextually appropriate responses to emotional situations. The question of whether AI truly understands empathy or merely simulates it effectively remains unresolved. As Mitchell and Krakauer argued in their 2023 research, behavior alone cannot confirm consciousness. We need theories of how consciousness emerges. What's clear is that AI systems can functionally respond to emotional content in increasingly sophisticated ways, whether or not they possess subjective experience. And perhaps most interestingly, this technological mirror forces us to examine more deeply the nature of our own consciousness and empathy. As we continue developing more advanced AI systems, these philosophical questions will only become more relevant to our understanding of both artificial and human intelligence.